Hello, welcome to another Becoming a Modern Man. We are playing our Eldrazi and Taxes deck in these videos. Quick deck tech, I suppose. This is the deck we'll be running with these matches. It's fairly standard as Eldrazi and Taxes decks go. We've got Aethervial to drop in our threats, which also works very well with Flickerwisp as a way of exiling things. For longer periods. We've got Path to Exile, obviously best removal for a mono white deck that we can get. Lean Arbiter, which is one of the hate bears in the deck, prevents people from shuffling, very good against fetch lands, and some decks very particularly, such as Tron, and other search heavy decks, Valakut as well, I suppose. Thalia, which is another great hate bear, makes our opponent's spells, well, all spells, non-creature spells, more expensive, makes our opponent's life a bit more difficult, makes them having to work that much harder, and given that our deck is majority creatures, it doesn't affect us nearly as much as it would our opponent. Tidal Hollow Sculler is a very powerful hand disruption tool. Can work very well against our opponent in combination with cards like Thought Not Seer, which again is hand disruption but also a pretty hefty beater, and one that we can play at a discount thanks to Eldrazi Temple. Wasteland Strangler, another Eldrazi, works with our abilities to exile cards, and there's some nice little combos in there, such as you can put the card exiled with Tide Hollow Sculler into the opponent's graveyard, which then prevents it from ever being got back if they kill the Tide Hollow Sculler. But then you've also got the Flickerwisps, Eldrazi Displacer, etc., which you can combine it with, or just simply Path to Exile in your opponent's creature, and then you can stick it in their graveyard with the Strangler. And so Strangler is also removal. Better in some matches than others, but yeah, any creature heavy match, obviously, it's very useful. Flickerwisp is one of the sort of classic cards of the deck. Not always great, but works very well with Vial. If you can play at instant speed, it tends to be pretty good. Very good at disrupting some decks. Useful against tokens as well, as just a way of exiling things. But yeah, has a lot of uses. There's a lot of play to it. It works particularly well with our next card, Eldrazi Displacer. Eldrazi Displacer lets you blink an opposing creature and it returns tapped, basically, which can be useful as basically a combat trick. It can get rid of blockers, or it can prevent a creature from attacking effectively, or you can use it with our various cards that have Enter the Battlefield abilities to reuse them. Not particularly great with Thought Not Seer, decent with Tide Hollow Sculler. You can blink your Tide Hollow Sculler, have another look at their hand and see if you have the card that you particularly wanted to exile from their hand. Again, Flickerwisp, really good. If you use it at the end of the end of turn, then you can exile something until the next end of turn step, which is particularly good. And then at the top end here, we've got Reality Smashers. Possibly too many. I think the more I play with this deck, 3 seems slightly over the top. This is a list I picked up around the time I was picking up these Oath of the Gatewatch cards after rotation, so I was kind of keen to play as many Eldrazi as I could, I guess. Yeah, a lot of different iterations of this deck. I've seen some that run Dark Confidant, which is kind of an interesting take, and some that sort of eschew the larger Eldrazi altogether. So yeah, there's a lot of different ways to build this deck, but this is just the one that took my fancy at the time. And I suppose here's a sideboard as well. So quite a bit of stuff going on. Obviously white's a very good colour for sideboard hate, so you can definitely tweak this depending on what sort of metagame you're expecting. Rest in Peace, obviously good against any of the graveyard strategies, Storm, Dredge, etc. Stony Silence, good against Tron, Affinity, etc. Core Firewalker, good against any of the red decks, Burn obviously particularly. but also Jeskai control, I suppose Valakut to a greater or lesser extent. Maybe we don't need 4 of these, I think it might be slightly overkill. Leaning Relic Warder, again, similar to Stony Silence, good against the artifact heavy decks in the format. Good at exiling it for an artifact. Just to show you that in case you're not, it's a little bit obscure, I suppose. Mirren Crusader, good against any of the any deck that's black-green heavy, or sometimes just Wasteland Strangler isn't very good, and you're better off just bringing in something that's a heavy beater. Obviously deals a lot of damage very quickly. We don't have any way to pump it, but yeah, certainly the protections can be very useful. Can't be killed by Fatal Push, which is obviously very relevant. And obviously can't be blocked by green creatures, of which there are many around the format. Thoughtseize, obviously, just hand disruption, which we've got available to us. Good against combo, etc. And you've got Fatal Push, which is just an additional removal spell. Very light on removal in the deck. So sometimes you just want that extra removal. And then you've got Oz of Pontiff, which is obviously slightly obscure again, but have allows you to pump your team, or probably more usefully, gives your opponent's creatures -1/-1. So if you're running against any sort of token strategies or any decks that are sort of heavy in small creatures, mana dorks, etc., or Infect, again, is another deck that's where Oz of Pontiff is fairly useful. Then yeah, the Pontiff can come into those matchups. So that's the deck, and we shall get on to the games.